Oh, I see it says live. Hi, Angel. This is so exciting. Me too. Me too. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I started practicing yoga right after college and went into a job like my parents wanted of me and I expected with my degree and everything, and went into advertising. And I found it hard to merge my daily work life with my daily yoga practice. And at the time, my husband was getting an MBA in entrepreneurship, and he was also starting a business. I was working the corporate job, and I was like, I really want to teach yoga. And so he was really foundational in helping me take the risks that have actually benefited thousands of people at this point, but take the risk to leave my job, spend a bunch of money going to India, doing a teacher training there. And then I came back, jobless and, and just dove right in. And I think it's the person that connected us, who was the first to buy into our programs, who's Shaquana, who I think is a common friend. And so she was really the first there, but really the motivation from the beginning was I just knew that it was my desire to keep up my own practice and deepen my self awareness. And I knew offices could use that for the balance, um, because so many of us are in that doing mode when we're at work, that we needed a little bit more of that that being mode, to overall find balance. And they were already doing it in India quite pervasively. So that was also like a vote of like, this is going to work, you know? Hmm. Mm, mm, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, one level of it was frankly, my family is Indian. Me going to India just, brings together a deeper level of um, integration, because my dad was born and raised in India, and so he had some of that, latent knowledge of Ayurveda. My mom had practiced yoga when I was young and when she was pregnant. So there was, these kind of themes, of course, mantra and the pujas and the visits to the temple, just the religious aspects were already in my life. And so going to India wasn't a huge leap for me. And I did have a lot of, at that time, trouble finding who was going to teach me. I was trying to find them from America and then make the trip to India knowing where I was going. And so that was hard because I was calling teachers in India and trying to figure out who was best, and took a leap of faith. Sending over my dollars before I arrived, hoping that everything was going to work out. And also the immersion in India. That particular program was a full 2 months of like 10-hour days, and then I spent 2 months at that program. Then I spent another month at an ashram. Then I spent another month at Rishikesh, which is the birthplace of yoga. They call it right on the River Ganga. And then another month visiting my family. So I spent 5 months there really diving into this practice. And I didn't want the teacher training that was one weekend a month. But now, as a mom of four and a professional, I fully, fully see the value in that style. But at that point, I was a newlywed. I was somewhat free of, motherhood and householding in a sense. So, yeah, yeah. Hmm. 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 Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot to say about diving in deep. I definitely could have done it a little bit more, I don't want to say surface level, but integrated with everything else going on in my life. And instead, it was like no, I really believe at its core, yoga is a way of life. I mean, whether you're vegetarian or you eat meat or I don't know, or a policeman or a teacher, whatever you do, I still think it has a way that it does change your life. And I think you even said that recently in a post, right? You said that was one of the most foundational things you've done. And there's so much, again, like you said, asana, the physical posture, is only 1/8 of the practice, meant to clean the body, like to clean the body out to allow for other states of awareness. So, mm, mhm, yeah, Mm, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm, mm. It's my husband's name. He's like the silent, like, genius here too. Yeah, it used to be Devi Yoga, my middle name, which is my grandmother's middle name, and kind of, spoke to that heritage. But Devi is, it's a hard to grasp, and it can be esoteric. It means goddess. I didn't want to continue to go down that path, and ostracize people. So he came up with inward office. As soon as he said it, I was like, yes, that's the one. We're going to do it. Um, and then I mentioned to you, he's a computer scientist. When you break it down, it's IO, which is also 10, which is, it's just like a very interesting, yeah, right? I don't know. It's, there was something else helping us out that day, I think. So, in offices, well, yeah, I was actually thinking about kind of something similar to this, which is, I talk to a lot of workplaces about stress and how to manage stress with yoga and with meditation. And I was like, wow, what's my obsession with stress? Like, why do I really want to do this? And this was before COVID. This was really like the stress discussion really started in like 2011 to 2013 for me with and then I started actually getting hired in probably 2015 for that linking up. um, and I just remember so many actual discussions at the dinner table of my father talking about his stress at work. And it just I really went back and remembered that and said, I think that really helped form as a child my perception that people were really suffering at work. And the only place that he had to let it out was at the dinner table with us. And so I think that was a thread in there. I do think there was an amount of me that was already in the had the nature of a yogi before starting it, but then um, doing it in the workplace, I don't even know what was the logical reason. I just knew it. So I there's an amount where I just feel like I was fulfilling, my duty, my dharma, like what I was supposed to do because it was just very clear to me right from the beginning that that was what I was going to do. And to an extent too, when you're doing a studio, there's a personality thing. Like you can think right now, like, who are your favorite yoga instructors or what's your favorite studio? There's like a very strong character and personality. Um, and without discounting that, because we all need a community, I really try hard with Inward Office to have it be reflective of the person because ultimately the practice is the self-awareness. Like I don't hire instructors that want all eyes on them. Although in this like Zoom, video conference doing it virtually is very different than but the practice isn't meant for you as the student to look at me and all eyes on me and everything I'm saying and it's meant to give you some cues and help guide you into your own experience. And so inward office, instead of being Devi yoga, which was personality, which was about me, which was, for us, it's a lot of how do we give it back to you? Yeah. 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 Hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm. So I mean, our first clients were definitely the ones that, and now even our best clients, like the ones that believe in it no matter what the numbers are on a week to week basis, or, say we've got a contract for an indefinite amount of time, are the ones that have some kind of self awareness practice themselves. So, Shaquana, as soon as she met me, she was like, yes, and, as a business, if you're looking at the business side, by the time they're at our door, we've already been recommended and the client is already saying yes. Like they already know they want it. Um, but at that point, and the people that were buying in, there was the one level of they're buying into the fitness, they're buying into the movement. And I always quickly followed that up with, the many levels of stress, not just the physical stress where we're holding it in our body and then we see it in our health insurance claims as lower back pain or as migraines or, um, but then we've got the physical stress, and we've got all these other layers of it too, which is the mental stress, which you could say is anxiety and depression. And as soon as you start to link what people are seeing in their, what the organizations see in their health assessments, I mean, and the fact that yoga being such a holistic, practice really does touch on all these things. I mean, the anxiety, the depression, the insomnia, the lower back pain, the, all the different things, and those are the things that, like I said, the people that work in HR are seeing in their health claims, and that are leading to, um, absenteeism or leading to, injury. So yeah. I can't imagine now more than any other year. Like, mm, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Mm, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. And yeah, and I mean that there's a level just with inward office that it's always been a side job for me. So I've never had to sell it. Luckily, we've had some excellent clients over the years that have been able to support the instructors and support the mission of inward office. But I definitely recognize the need for, that salesmanship, depending on the way one's business is structured. So yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question right now just because we were all in person before March, and our instructors have done some amazing things. So we had a team of about maybe 30 instructors that were under contract. They're all independent contractors. They all work with, studios and gyms and within we're at office. I mean, in a gig sort of role. And so we had this big group of instructors, and of course, COVID hit and everything changed. And we were covering the whole kind of Western New York. So I had some instructors in Buffalo, which is about an hour and a half from here. I had instructors that would travel down to Southern Tier because, yoga is motivating as an instructor. Um, Not everybody's a yoga instructor, but that's really our core, like our flagship service. And so they would travel down to like Elmira because an instructor had their mom live there, and they would stay overnight and then teach a class. I mean, just in that service of giving, which is just so wonderful. And but they're not doing a volunteer, let's be clear on that. But in that service of like, they want to bring this to the clients that are seeking it. And um and so then when COVID hit, we all went virtual, and suddenly our client, like for instance, we work with the school systems in the region, and we'd have to go to the individual schools and hold a weekly class. Well, now we hold a few classes, and all the school systems that buy into their particular health plan join those classes. So it was a more of a collective group. And we worked with Paychex locally, which is a national company. They're founded in Rochester, but so I was working with their couple offices here, just holding a few weekly classes. And then COVID hit, we went virtual. And then now the whole country of Paychex offices has access to the programs. And so it's been neat to just see that, because with the virtual classes, we can unite many of the companies that have many offices, under one program. Um, but it's still, I still kind of feel like we're in a transitional phase. I mean, I'm trying to plan out 2021 and saying, what is this going to look like? Because, people are seeking recorded classes, people are seeking Pacific time zone doesn't line up with Eastern time zone for work. So there's a lot of what ifing on my part. So I'm trying to take my best clients and see what they want, because we've always just created our services around those clients we've served. Um, and then, yeah, there are, yeah. So rather than like, I don't know about how to answer the at capacity or even, my if my husband watches this, he'll be like, you need to know what your, number goals are. I don't know what my number goals are. I'll just put that out there. Um, but I think any, more yoga we can bring to more people is fulfilling the mission. We are the first touch for many people trying yoga, which really is one of my big goals because this might be your opinion too, but my opinion is there's a whole lot more people that haven't done yoga than have. And so we have a huge potential throughout the country to really bring yoga just to more people, but they have to know that it's not acrobatics and that it's not just chanting and it's not Hinduism. They have to know that it's adaptable to like meeting the person where they're at. So, yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So we definitely do a lot with mindfulness. So I think many of us that are maybe tuning in know that mindfulness became like an HR buzzword or workplace wellness buzzword. And I think looking at it from the outside, I've watched or listened to a podcast or two or read an article or two that people in HR and in wellness circles thought it was like some fad. You know, Meditation and yoga have been around so like thousands of years. It's not a fad. Yeah, and it's not a fad. It's just love degrees of how much it's integrated into the culture and integrated into like our knowledge base. And so I do see a lot of clients choosing to hold workshops in mindfulness. The way our company does it is it's kind of like more of a premier service. Like we have the weekly yoga classes and then we have a workshop selection, and the mindfulness workshops are they're a deeper dive. They're answering the why are we doing this? Like you can walk into an immersive yoga practice and just go in and go into your own space and do your practice and leave and not talk and not reflect, like you're just doing your practice. With the mindfulness classes, especially the way I guess I would say I'm the primary mindfulness trainer, I'll go in with a PowerPoint and say like, why are we practicing? What is mindfulness? Why is this good for the workplace? What do the research studies say? Okay, now let's practice. And so we get the comments like even recently with a client asking after we did a practice, um, there's like a little admission, like I kind of like this. Like this actually made me feel really good. I actually meditate, but I've never meditated with all of you before, and so I think people are just like emerging to the self-awareness that they maybe already have, but haven't felt safe to say it and say, well, actually, I do have this app on my phone, or actually, I have tried this before. And so I just think that there's like an opening, a potential for that, um, and we do integrate breathing practices and relaxation practices really actively since insomnia is a concern and anxiety and depression, and those can really help with those states. Again, in the lens of workplaces and what they're seeing on their health assessments. So, yeah. Yeah. Mm, 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 mm. Oh, it's a really good question. How is pandemic fatigue showing up in the work? I mean, one of the thoughts, I won't say that this has come up in class, but one of the thoughts that I think really ties in that pandemic fatigue with the work we do is that recognition that we're actually always in a state of change. Like changes are always happening, and our mind is always wrestling with the future and the past. And just right now, it's all very, very much present. Like it's all very much in our consciousness. Like we may have last year not notice that our mind was like going to, oh, I want to plan this trip or oh, I want to do this thing because there was a like a level of safety, right? There was a level of like I kind of know what's going to happen. I can anticipate A, B, and C things so I can plan for this vacation. Um, Maybe we went into the past and mulled over or found ourselves grieving over something or mulled over some past decision, and now just everything is like, if that was at like a 10% intensity, it's like all at like 95% intensity, right? Because I can't plan for the future. I can't plan for Thanksgiving, which is in a week. I can't plan for Christmas, which is in 2 weeks, because God knows something might crazy might happen tomorrow. And like all those plans are out the window. And I just feel like everyone's kind of feeling that. Um, and so, I, yeah, yeah. And to me, it's just like, I don't want this to be, I don't think it's cynical. I don't think that, I feel like it's this, how do I want to put this? Like for so long, I feel like I've been educating people about stress and about what their minds do. And all of a sudden this year, everyone got it. That sounds real funny, but like it was like if you didn't actually believe that your mind goes to the future and the past and actually gets scared and doesn't feel a sense of safety. So that's why it plans for the future and that's why it like rehashes the past so that the brain can be calm right now. Like that's all these things I feel like trying to share with people. It's just very present. And so I think there is more need for the work and there's more need for being kind and open to actually what's going on inside of us. So my response to would be, yeah, those coping mechanisms might have gone away or changed. Well, they've gone away because they changed, right? And then we want to find another way to hide. And workaholism is a great way to hide. It's a great way because there's external recognition built in there. If I'm working till at 9 at night and then my boss is like, wow, you did a great job on that. It's like, yeah, I put in the time and somebody recognized I did something. Um, and that's like a whole nother discussion. But the yeah, 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 Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want to like focus just on workaholism, but that anything that we aholism, right? It could be food that's our coping technique that's overindulgent. It could be our work that's overindulgent. It could be our sleeping that's overindulgent. Whatever it is that, we're just off balance in a way, right? And the goal of yoga is to bring us into balance, whatever that means, right? Because I'm sure there's people listening or what have you that are like, balance, what is balance? Relaxation. What is relaxation? Um, and so the knowledge that so I think that yoga and meditation, so this deepening of self-awareness, brings to light and brings into consciousness what our patterns are. And so our like reflection on the fact that I spent 40 hours in the first 3 days of my work week. Maybe that wasn't in balance. And why am I so tired now that it's Thursday? Well, maybe it's because I spent all that time. Just that opening to noticing what's there and what our experience is the fruit of the practice. Um, so I do, years ago, I used to think that meditation was like, right, a bliss state or that an empty state or a state of feeling the balance. And now I know it can be just sitting there and sitting with all your crazy thoughts. And it can be one day like that and one day like where you're noticing a pattern and another day where you're in a bliss state. And really it's just about paying attention to what's under the surface when all day long we're just busy doing other stuff. We're just, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Mm. Oh, that's great. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Mm. Mm. Yeah, it is. It's real, and it's an interesting thing too. I mean, doing it in a place like when we were in person, doing it in a place where maybe somebody feels most of their stress is a totally different practice than when you get to leave the stress and go to the studio and be in a beautiful space. And then it's like, it's a little like it helps with the unwinding. And then now in COVID era, where, I work over there and I eat over there and I sleep over there, right? Like it's all right here. Then it's a totally different version of how do I find a new technique? And I really think like part of the big work that we do or that um, I try to convey to people is sometimes your coping techniques are just worn out, and you need to just find some new things. I'm the first to stand in front of the room and say, "What's your coping technique?" Mine's an IPA. Like, What's yours? I love my beer in the evening, and most days it's my one mindful beer, and I make the decision when I'm gonna have it, and I really enjoy it. Like I enjoy it. But and that's my like crutch or what have you. Like I'm not gonna say I'm a non-drinking, non-meat eating yogi. Like um we're keeping it real over here. So yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. 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 Mm, yeah. Mm, mm, yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be frank, between you and I, we're not that expensive. I probably need to raise our rates. Like, I'll be frank. But so we do work with like big businesses and small businesses. I mean, there are some of our, clients that have stuck around a few years are 50 to 100 employees. So, still working with the smaller ones. But usually what happens is that the smaller ones, yeah, their budget is not a wellness budget. It's coming out of a manager's budget, or it's coming out of a morale, or there's not like a defined program per se. Um, and so I do think that there's a lot of free resources. The question is like, how do you unify it? Because let's say I'm a small business owner that wants to bring some of these things. Like I can throw a bunch of things at my employee, but that's not my main job. And so, for the businesses that we work with where there isn't a wellness person, like a devoted wellness person on their team, um, often they're using a wellness consultant from their health insurance that's helping to link us up and bring some direction to the program. But like our company does a lot of just helping them kind of create something unified. Um, I do like that there's so many free resources, but I do think that the problem is you need something to bring them all together. Like if we just did like let's do a mindfulness day and let's try some meditations, like how do we make it stick? Because the thing about the yoga and the meditation and any of these awareness practices is that they have to be regular. You have to do them so that you've got like the tank full so that when the craziness comes, you're like you've already got some buoyancy or you've got some energy to deal with it. And so, like the meditation class that I lead, I'm very frank with people every single week. I'm like, how's your practice going? And even if they've got no practice except for the class that we're going to, like, we just have to keep kind of chipping away, like, how are you going to keep your practice up? What are you doing on a daily or a weekly basis? And so, if somebody wanted to do something for free, it's just creating some kind of regularity within the organization that fosters the attitude of mindfulness or yoga or self care. Um, because it can be implicit. It doesn't have to be explicit that way. So, hmm, yeah, 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 mm. Yeah. I mean, it's just not as wise of a use of dollars. Like if I'm gonna pull some things together that happen only once, it's just not. It's not integrated. And this is, yeah, like this to me, that difficult question that I'll ask the employers is like, they'll say, "Oh, how long to run a program?" And I'm like, "How long can we run a program? Like, can we go for a year initially? Because it's the long term. We're in it for the long haul. We're not in it for the one time workshop because that gives people a taste of like, oh, that's what this is like, but doesn't build the muscle. Um, but oh, Angel, you brought to that like thought to me. There was recently, some article that came across my email that was like about the importance of stretching from like appears big health organization, and they had this horrible picture. It was like everyone was doing stretches wrong, and it was like women in high heels doing forward bends with rounded backs, and I was like, "What?" And I was like, "How can you talk about the importance of stretching and have such an awful picture?" And there's that part of me that's like, I got to get there. I got to email them back and educate them. And then there's a part of me that's like, I guess the people that are going to hire them are going to get that kind of service, you know? So, yeah, I know. Oh, that's a great point. Yeah. Oh, mm. Oh, that's great. Mm. Yeah. 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 Oh, that's great. That does lead to a great sound sleep, a restorative pose or two before bed. Mhm. Immune health all by itself. Yeah, I mean, the research study, one of those like foundational research studies on mindfulness and mindfulness meditation was how well psoriasis patients healed during treatment, or how fast their treatments went. Well, they healed after treatment when they were doing meditation during the actual UV treatment. And they were, I think it was sped up 4 times as much when they were doing mindfulness meditation. And so there is an immune system response. I mean, um, not everybody agrees, but there's a science of epigenetics where it basically says, if you create the conditions for health in the body through things like right breathing, right exercise, integrating, practices of self awareness like meditation and yoga, that you create the natural healing response of the body to emerge, because ultimately your body wants to be in a constant state of healing and health. But what happens is we have like dampers on it if we have, if we're eating badly, if we're doing things that just throw us completely off balance, if we're not aware of our patterns, if our patterns are there, our negative habits are there, and they're slowly chipping away at the good stuff. And so, really, I think that the key part here is that our body naturally wants to be in balance. It naturally wants to be healthy. And that we just have so many layers of conditioning or opinion or personality or whatever it is covering up that inclination. Yeah. 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 Okay. Well, I do have like 3 things that people can do. So is that okay to share? Okay, great. Because I know you told me that we can do a little something. Um, so I mean, as far as people reaching out to me, yes, of course, inwardoffice.com is our client facing website. Although right, we're a small business. It's like me in the office, and I have someone else that helps me, part time, but where it's not quite as updated as I'd like it to be. Like, it's very much phone call to phone call and email to email right now. But inwardoffice.com, and the phone number there reaches me directly. Um, so it's very, very much a direct service in many ways. Um, but yeah, a couple things that I wanted to share. One of them is massage balls. My favorite massage balls are roll method balls. So lots of people do different kinds of self massage, and they'll do it with golf balls or tennis balls or lacrosse balls. And these are just a little, like, they've got a little bit of sponginess, I guess maybe is the word. But they're rubbery, so they grip the skin. You could kind of see, let's see. I don't know if you can see it here. They grip and they can move the skin because they're rubbery. And I think massage balls are just like a must have in the office, and especially in the home office. A lot of different things. The roll method ones I like a lot because, one, you've got this little sleeve they go in, and my hair isn't up, so bear with me here. One of those things you can do here is, against a wall, put these on the wall, and you lean up, and then you just roll them up and down. Or take one of them, put it right on occipital ridge right here, and then just lean on it. And it's kind of intuitive. I mean, we teach classes on how to use them. You can go to the Roll Method website and download workshops. Um, but this is kind of like my go-to, like if I'm feeling fidgety, like in a really long Zoom meeting, um, or fidgety because I'm a bystander in a Zoom meeting and I have to like smile and nod, but I'm so antsy, you know, I can just take, yeah, I can take out one of these and roll it on my feet. I could roll it on my thighs. Um, it's kind of like one of those things like I think self-kindness is really important right now, and it can be kind of like a kind and compassionate thing, nurturing thing you can do for yourself. So I definitely highly recommend these as just like a tool. You can do them all over the body. There's plenty of resources out there. Yeah. I'll send you one, Angel. Well, we'll talk after this. I have a lot of supplies that are getting no use right now. So if you want another thing that I wanted to share, I'm gonna have to just adjust for a minute. Okay, I'm gonna put my chair here. So again, thinking of most of us in our meeting space and working from home. Okay, so there are a lot of companies that invested heavily in the ergonomic chairs and tables and having the right equipment. From my clients, I've heard a range of how people are working. That some offices supplied some things, some gave money towards setting up a home office, a whole range, right? The biggest thing I noticed right away for my husband and I was how badly designed our home office equipment is. Terrible. Back pain immediately, shoulder pain immediately. Yeah. And so the one big key that I would hope everybody would do. So I have this meditation cushion. Okay, it's actually made by a local artist here, so I absolutely love it. It's filled with yes, it's filled with like buckwheat, so it doesn't lose its shape. Which if you get a cotton one, it will eventually lose its shape. And it's really high, so it's probably 6 inches. Sitting on this at your table makes loads of difference for the alignment of your shoulder to your elbow to your table. Because pretty much if you're sitting at a kitchen table or any of those, any of like just standard non-ergonomic designed furniture, what's happening is you're kind of like it's up too high, so you're doing this kind of thing. So your elbows are kind of going out to the side or they're going forward. So this is super simple. Yeah. For better alignment. And it's not so bad on the knees too, because you've got less of a bend in them. Um, so that's one. And then the other big one, again, this is a work from home. I've been in a Zoom meeting way too long and I need to stretch something, but I still have to pay attention. So let me see if I can get everything here. You might not see my full head. So what we're going to do here is just a passive quad stretch. So you're just going to put your foot up on here while you're doing the standing version of the meeting. So yeah. So you're going to put your computer up higher. Like I just use a plastic bin and I'm just going to put my leg at a 90-degree bend on the chair. And so for most of us that are sitting at these angles all day long, doing everything at these angles, we need to stretch the front, the hip flexors, the quads. And this is just so super simple. And it's passive. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just those little things, but then done consistently that are the most important. Hmm. Yeah. 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 Me too. Yeah. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Angel. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah. You too. Bye. I was like, I don't think I'm going to get off right now, but yeah. Well, yeah. It was funny because I have an appointment, but then they made it tentative this morning, so I don't even know if it's going on. So, yeah. Great. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I do want to get back on too because I want to understand what you do, and this is just a really great opportunity to learn about each other. And I just love that you've got the clinical side and the yoga side, the mindfulness side, because it's the merging of those two fields of knowledge that is going to make this stuff more sticky. You know, like U of R being one of our first buy-ins, it's a beautiful thing to me because they were one of the first places that established mind body medicine. Like Dr. Robert Ader, he was at U of R in the 60s or 70s, and he found the stress hormone, I think, in saliva or something, or like in rats. And so, I mean, the foundation was like laid here. And so, luckily, there was this unique opportunity to do it around here. But I know that and Kaiser, where you are, is great that way too. Yeah. 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 And I think that I'm just intuiting that you have a spiritual practice, and I actually think that's the theme of the year is that people just had to go inside, and we are being forced to be pushed inside. Yeah, 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 hmm, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I feel like it would be a nice purpose for me, maybe in years to come, to find that bridge on the spiritual, non-spiritual side, because I mean, tons of people in America having a Christian Catholic like background, being able to say like what's the zoom out, like what's the way we can all meet in practice in the body, because I was like I think lost from Christianity. Um, like how do we get into the body to experience the divine or you know so Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, we should do one on we should do one on kindness and self-care. I would love to do that, like as a even a co-exchange, like more of a conversation than an interview, because that was like even at the beginning of this year, there was a mindfulness day that one of the brokers I work with held for their clients, and I was one of three presenters, and we ended up splitting it up into like the three arms of mindfulness, which was the um, oh gosh, why am I drawing a blank? Loving kindness. Clearly, I've been talking for too long. Whatever. I have the loving kindness piece. Yeah, I'm just totally drawing a blank. Yeah, I've been talking too long, right? So anyhow, I did the loving kindness, and so it was like I was like, how can I loving kindness as a reach to people who are just new to mindfulness, right? So I just talked all about self kindness, and then really culturally, we're like the opposite. We're more self deprecating and self critical and critical of others and judgmental, and then it's pretty easy to find like little things to be more kind in the name of self care, in the name of um, resilience, all of that. So, yeah, yeah. I heard that's a gift of aging. Like, yeah. Mm, yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 No, I love what you said about, and that was in a post too, I think, what you said about shopping isn't self care. Because that's like I think really important because we do equate that like, oh, I'll go get my nails done. Like my mom gave me for my birthday a pedicure thing, and I was like, what am I gonna do with this? Like my daughter's gonna love this. Yeah. 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 There's more. Yeah. Oh. All right. Well, it's so fun, Angel. Thank you, and you too. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.